In the last episode of this series, we looked at how typical walking will tend to lead to long strides, where the feet land well forward of the torso. And earlier in the series, we looked at the common habit of bending the torso and protruding the midsection to move forward in the walking process. These two habits combine to cause people to massively retract their head, shoulders, and upper torso as they walk. Today, we'll look at a couple procedures to work on this problem. While there are variations in how people walk, retraction of the upper torso is extremely common. Even a person like this, who is leaning forward more than usual as she walks, is retracting her upper torso relative to her mid-torso. But more commonly, you'll see people with their ear far behind their frontal plane when they walk. We've looked many times on this channel at how the bending of the torso where the midsection goes forward leads to a tilting back of the ribcage and a retraction of the head, arms, and upper torso. The tendency to swing the leg well forward of the body only makes this problem worse, as people counterbalance the midsection and leg being forward by pulling the upper torso and head back. We can see that in typical walking, the midsection is well forward of the upper sternum and the shoulders. This produces a very leaned back look that even seems sort of casual. But if you're walking like this, you're forced to overuse your muscles, since your fascia is limp. Most people could easily lean forward instead of leaning back by pulling their lower sacrum way back or dropping their head. These movements can get the ear closer to the frontal plane. But obviously, shortening like this is not the solution we want to use. Dropping the head will crunch the breathing mechanism and make you look like you're stooping. Pulling the lower sacrum back will make you look leaned forward. And as we've seen, still your upper torso will be retracted. All of these patterns are movements that produce shortening. Now let's see how we can lengthen our way out of this problem. We've seen that in going up on the toes, it can be helpful to bring the weight of the arms forward in order to help us get our midsection back. When we shift weight back, we need to counterbalance with some weight forward. We can do the same while walking. You can hold a stick horizontally out in front of you, with your elbows lower than your hands. Make sure you direct the tips of your elbows out and not in to lower them. We want to coordinate a movement of the armpit line, which is on the torso, back while the arms go forward. We also want to lift the armpit line up away from the sacrum. However, we do not want the lifting of the back of the rib cage to pull the top of the sacrum forward, which can happen. Remember, our thoracolumbar fascia is connected to the back of the pelvis, goes up to the back of the rib cage, and is connected to the arms by the latissimus dorsi. We want to expand the thoracolumbar fascia up and down. We can't allow the pull up to bend the lower back and tilt the pelvis forward. Next, you can try holding the stick very low, so that it's in front of your thighs. You want your arms to be vertically straight, so don't have your hands forward of your elbows. Can you keep your arms vertical and in front of your torso as you walk? Key directions here will be to maintain the tips of the elbows out and to keep the iliacs and mid-torso back and up. Your legs should not swing into the stick. Remember, you're moving your torso forward first and allowing your legs to catch up. It's likely going to feel quite strange walking like this at first. In typical walking, the elbow is pointed back and the arm is angled. This is a kind of compensatory action that's connected to the shifting of the pelvis side to side. It's not necessary, but when it's done habitually, it comes to feel like an essential part of walking. But rather than relying on that twisting to generate power, we want to rely on the energy stored in the tension of our taut fascia. The last procedure we'll look at today is more advanced. If you're a beginner, it's something you can keep in mind and perhaps use later on down the line. We're going to define a point on the head for this procedure. We'll call this point the upper wisdom teeth. To find it, feel on the side of the mouth back to where the wisdom teeth are on the upper row of teeth. If you don't have wisdom teeth, just go a little beyond your last molar. Feel free to reach inside your mouth or poke your tongue against your cheek to locate this spot. We can see that most people will have their upper wisdom teeth back in relation to the frontal plane of their body. This is, of course, tied together with the retraction of the upper torso. The idea is that we want the upper wisdom teeth spot to be forward of the sternum as we walk. Optimally, the sternum is vertical, but to be clear, I mean forward of the lower sternum, as getting the upper wisdom teeth forward of the upper sternum is much easier, since most people habitually pull their upper sternum back. It's absolutely crucial that you do not drop your rib cage, drop your head, or shove your armpit line forward in order to accomplish this. That's why I say this is a more advanced procedure. It's certainly possible to lean to cheat this and satisfy the demand of getting the upper wisdom teeth forward, but that's not interesting to us. The question is, can we move the upper wisdom teeth forward and up while maintaining the sternum vertical, the armpit line back, and the torso lengthened? While this is not the easiest set of movements to coordinate, if we think back to the rotation we want with the rib cage, we can see that getting the upper wisdom teeth forward is the inevitable result of lengthening the back and making the rib cage upright. As we pull the lower end of the rib cage back, if the center of rotation is at the front of the rib cage, near the armpit line, the upper end of the rib cage and the head will go forward and up. You can place a ruler along the front of your torso and have it poke up at the side of your head. Can you keep your ear in line with the stick as you walk? Can you move your upper wisdom teeth forward of the stick and keep them there as you walk? Don't allow this goal to overshadow your broader directions for the torso and for walking. But having a physical object there can help you keep your head forward and up. F.M. Alexander, of course, talked about the problem of pulling the head back quite a bit, especially in speaking and in going to sit. This is also a serious problem in walking. So experiment with whichever ideas here fit where you're at right now, then join me next episode, and we'll sketch in some more detail on our model of walking.